I'm ready to machine my zip in place. I have got a straight stitch on the machine, but the stitch length, I think 2.2 or 2.6, which is often what they are when you switch these machines on, is too small really. You want the zip to go in firmly, but you don't want teeny tiny stitches, so I would put that up to 3. And then over here I've got my zipper foot on, I've got my stitch line which I've marked at 1/4 inch. So I'm going to put my needle down, and my one tip really is when you start, the zipper foot doesn't have a great deal of space at the front to grip the fabric and feed it through. The feed dogs are engaged underneath, but what I find is often when you start at the edge here, you need to just give it a good push off to get going. I'll do a small reverse stitch and then I'll stitch along this line. I've got the zip head is underneath here. I've got it about halfway there. So I'm going to machine up to here and then pause and show you how to get past that. So off we go. So push off, and I'm going to make sure the needle's down, so it's always down when I pause. I'm going to do a back stitch and then just going slowly, nice stitch length, moving along. I can feel that I'm not going through the double-sided basting tape, because actually that's very gluey and you would feel that your needle is getting a little bit stuck if you're too close to that. So I'm moving along here. Now I can feel the bulkhead of the zip underneath here, so at this point I'm going to pause. I'm going to make sure my needle is down. I'm going to lift the presser foot, and on some machines you can actually lift the lever again to get it a little bit higher, and then I'm going to just go in and zip past, and then you can just carry on. And do a reverse stitch at the end. And I'll just snip those threads. So what you have done there is you've machined the lining and the exterior and the zip tape all together, and you've got a nice distance here so that the zipper head here can move freely up and down. So we're now going to repeat that on the other side. So now we have 1/2 of the clutch bag coming together. What you want to do is get your other side, again, right side directional. If it's directional, have the right side up at the top here, and then you're going to put this time the right side of your exterior down like that. So the first step is to again peel the basting tape off. Obviously if you haven't got basting tape at this stage, you would use a needle and some basting thread and do this by hand, but I wouldn't just rely on pins when you've got so many layers working together. So this is now sticky. I'm going to flip it over, and once again I'm getting the top of the zip and I'm sticking it down onto the right side of my clutch like so. And then I'm going to take this tape off on the wrong side of the zip, and once again I'm going to put my lining down on top, stretching it to make sure it fits, and I've got my stitch line already marked. So again, it's all raw edges together like so, and press that down, and then I'm going to repeat what I've just done and machine along here. The only thing is there's a few more layers, so when you get in to actually move the bulk of the zip head to get past it, you've got to just come in a little bit further to move that down. But otherwise, reverse and stitch and reverse. Also, just remember that if your lining does have a right and a wrong side again, this is now right sides together. So this is the wrong side of your lining that has the stitch line marked. So I've now machined both sides. I'm just going to open it up so it lays flat like this, and you just want to press along this line here on both sides so that the fabric is not getting too close to the zip head and will lay nice and flat like so. Obviously some fabrics are easier than others to just make that sit flat, and then flip it over and do the same with the lining, because you don't want the lining to ride up and get caught as you're opening and closing the zip. So this is even more important really than the outside, that you push it away and press there. And actually what we can also do now is go to the machine, and I quite like to just top stitch along here. It makes the purse look a little bit more finished off, and it also keeps those fabrics down so that they don't get trapped. So you just want a row of stitching. Obviously you can choose your thread colour, so if you wanted a colour to match your exterior, you would choose, I could use a white on here if I wanted. I'm actually going to use a black to mirror these lines, and whatever your bobbin thread is what you're going to then see on the inside. So if you've got contrasting colours, you may want to just change your threads at this point. Top stitching isn't crucial. You can miss this stage out if you like, but definitely press if you're not going to do it. Top stitching, I like to actually make my stitch length longer again, so I'm going to turn it up to 3.5. And I quite like, I've got a 1/4 inch foot, which because I'm a quilter, but it's got this black guide here, and I quite like that because if you sit it on the edge there, you know that I'm going to get a nice even row of stitches along the top. But if not, you can use your regular foot and just do a row of stitching starting here on both sides of the front and back. So I'll just pop that in. So I can now make sure this is sitting nicely, pop the marker down on the edge and my needle in, and then just keep it really nice and flat to ensure neat stitching all the way across the front, because obviously now this is on the exterior of your bag, so you want it to be as neat as possible. Doesn't matter too much whether you reverse or not, because it's all then going to be stitched into the seams shortly, and you should actually be able to get past the zip head here without any problem. Just like that.